Not that our government is listening, but I do think there's a world peace movement that is building, and certainly the governments of France and Germany are listening to their people.
This Bush administration did not check with me when they made these plans.
Our goal, I suppose, in the broadest sense, is to do whatever we can to stop the war against Iraq. Our actual plan is to go to Halliburton Oil Company, which is the company that the Vice President was the CEO of, and to block the doorways of the building and to say that we are willing to suffer if necessary and put our bodies on the line to send a strong message that this war is illegal and immoral.
You know, you understand your personal boundaries and you can try to understand them in different situations.
I'm really proud of this training. I know that Yuri and Stephanie are really good and they know their stuff, and I mean they both keep reinforcing it by getting rearrested more and more times, so they're really good. The material's just inside of them. I feel that when people leave, they're going to have the confidence that they both know what to do in various situations and they know the implications. We're really going to have a chance to form affinity groups and talk about roles. Hopefully come to some consensus, because we've also learned consensus process. I know it's just a beginning, but hopefully come to some agreement on really how this will work tomorrow.
People feel more secure and safe in the environment, and the training does that when you spend 8 hours together. But also you give people really specific ways of dealing with violence. You really work with people around the issue of nonviolence to make sure that they understand that really when you're put to the test about nonviolence is when you face violence.
I think it's really valuable that this group of people, that we all get to understand more and more about Gandhi and Martin Luther King.
It's kind of the combination of spending time together and learning techniques and talking about the principles of nonviolence all together, I think, help people when they get in that situation.
They say get back! We say fight back! I can't hear you! They say get back! We say fight back! They say get back! We say fight back! Get back! Fight back! Get back! Fight back!
So we met at the Auraria campus where there were several speakers from the Auraria student organizations, and there were about 200 protesters there.
What have we been doing in Iraq for the last 10 years? Nothing.
I think that we're seeing people just sort of pouring to the streets to protest the possibility of war, and the war hasn't even started yet.
I believe what's happening in Iraq and even here in the United States is that we're continuing to perpetuate the violence. Dr. King said that the way to avoid aggression, anger, and hostility is to foster a foundation of love and peace and justice.
Bush! Out of Afghanistan! Out of Iraq! Leave Palestine and don't come back!
We marched along the Auraria campus up to 16th Street Mall and walked down the mall, and there were thousands of people there on their lunch hours who were watching us, and some cheered us on, most, and some criticized us.
Democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
Once we arrived at the Halliburton office, we did a street theater. When you're doing actions and you want to get good media, you really want to be very visual. So we had a street theater that we thought really demonstrated the issues about oil and the plan by the U.S. government to attack Iraq.
The war is about oil. It's not about the safety of Americans. It's not about terrorism. It's not about the terrorist attacks on the United States. It's about oil. That's why we're going to Iraq, and that's why we're here at the Halliburton Oil Company to demonstrate that we are committed to stopping this war in every way that we can non-violently.
Cheney and Bush and Condoleezza Rice and a lot of people in the government have worked for oil companies, and that there's obviously a very clear relationship between why we're going to war with Iraq as opposed to North Korea, based on the fact that Iraq has oil.
No war for oil! No blood for oil! No war for oil! No blood for oil! Yesterday, many of us trained to do the nonviolent civil disobedience. If there is anyone who is planning on doing civil disobedience, we need to know who you are so you don't get lost in the jail system. And I have to tell you, our arrestees range from the age of 17 to, I don't know, how old are you? 79. To 79! We will not use or return violence, verbal or physical, toward any person or other creature. We will not damage any property. We will not incite others to do violence. We will act with 360 degrees of compassion toward all beings at all times, including toward those with whom we disagree. We will not run or resist arrest. We will remain accountable for our actions as a means for furthering our witness to the injustice of this war. Those are the guidelines for our actions. Let's clap for those.
Today, I'm willing to risk arrest if that's what it takes to get the point across that we stand for peace, that we feel we can win without war, that there are other alternatives. Let the inspectors do their work. Peace is the way. And Bush, I gotta tell you, no war in Iraq. No war in Iraq.
I served in World War II, I should tell you that. And I was very proud of my country. I was proud of my service. But it seems ever since my country's been doing things I find it very hard to be proud of. One war after another. Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Panama. We can go on naming them. Panama, think of it, 3,000 people killed so that we could capture Manuel Noriega. It makes no sense at all.
The media is not behind the anti-war movement. We have to do this ourselves, and we can do it. The time has come when silence is betrayal.
I do not give my consent to our government. A government that will use any and all means of oppression, not only against its own people, but against the people of the world, for personal, political, and economic gain.
We're a harsh country. After World War II, we were respected in this world. We were liked by most nations of the world. Now, 50 years later, I think we're disliked by almost everyone because of our aggressive nature. So that's why I'm here today.
You know, you never know what's going to happen in a civil disobedience action. You could be gassed. The police could use violence against people. So there's always the possibility of getting physically injured, staying overnight in jail. I mean, the suffering is minimal compared to the catastrophic effects of a war in Iraq. So to even talk about suffering, it's a very comparative thing.
We're in violation of trespassing ordinance 38-115. We have signs in place from the building management. You need to leave immediately or you will be arrested. Okay? The time of day is approximately 1:10. Okay? And once again, you need to leave or you will be arrested.
Our role is to protect people's First Amendment rights, which part of these people are doing, and the other part of our role is to protect the rights of the property owner, and that's what we did. And we have dialogue with this group ahead of time, and that's beneficial.
Well, I urge anyone who can possibly think about doing nonviolent civil disobedience at this time to do it now. Once a war starts, the impact of nonviolent civil disobedience will diminish greatly, and I think if there were hundreds of nonviolent civil disobedience actions across the country, that it would really increase the social cost for the administration. Already they don't have support from the American people, but to increase the cost to them and to have this constantly on the media, I think would send a stronger message.
We get a chance to really work with it and figure out, why are we doing this? What do we have to do for it to have impact, to bring about transformation?